Andrew Partridge from Michell Wool joins us again. Andrew, this week in the wool market, looks like we just kept the price exactly the same. First I've seen that for a while.
Yes, mate. Yeah, the AWEX EMI, 1,318 cents with a big fat zero next to it. So, like you say, it doesn't happen very rarely does the indicator change because it's got a lot of numbers that actually make up the number. But if you look deeper into the market, there were some ups and downs. But overall, as it's alluding to, it was a pretty unchanged week. We sort of had pluses of 10s and 20s and minuses of 10s and 20s clean, that is. So, it sort of bobbed around and stayed unchanged for the week.
And is it a bit of a differential story between the three major trading markets in the country?
Yeah, it does have that pattern. Yeah, so we've got all three centres obviously selling at the moment on a Tuesday, Wednesday. And then Melbourne's selling in isolation on a Thursday because we're such a big state down here. We've got all the wool coming to us and selling in our centre. So we're busy selling 3-day sales in Melbourne, while the other two centres have a luxury 2-day sale week.
Ah, that's good to hear. And I guess coming up to Easter next week, we can expect maybe a little bit of an unusual market. Is that affected by the loss of the Friday?
Yeah, correct. So we have to push back to a 2-day sale, even though there's enough wool for a 3-day sale. Next week, we're cramming it into 2, so it's going to be 2 big days. As we mentioned, those maximum lots in any one day are 1,200 lots per day in any one sale room. They're maxed out, particularly in the number 2 room, which is the room that sells the pieces and bellies and crossbred. So brokers are going to have to actually take wool out of the sale to actually fit into because there's like a rule for each broker to how much wool they can sell. So some of the brokers actually have to take wool out of the sale so we can make the sale fit the week.
Well, speaking of the number 2 room, we talked about needing the prune juice for a constipated market previously. Talk to us about dumping in this context. What's happening there?
Yeah, you just summed it up beautifully. Yeah, just a big bunch of prune juice. No, we had a wool dump in Melbourne, put the white flag up a while back, and so all that business sort of pushed back under the other 2 dumps in Melbourne, being AWH and Packtoners. So we've had a bit of constipation building up in the system of physically getting wool into containers and onto ships, which we've been sort of loosely talking about. So fortunately or unfortunately, Packtoners, the main dump in Melbourne, they've actually built a new premise, and it's coming online shortly in a few months. I hope it's going to alleviate that bit of pain in the lower regions.
Certainly, we've been seeing that in the market. There's still plenty of bales being put up, I gather, even for next week, given that there's just so much to move. Sometimes you might see people hold back given the price that they're being offered, but they've got little choice. They've got to move it.
There's a bit of that going on, Ricky. Yeah, there's certainly, we keep talking about the seasonal pattern for shearing probably sees cockies thinking about preparing paddocks for sowing and so forth and backing off of the shearing, but the sale was still staying big. So there's a bit of like a tide coming in and coming in and coming in. It's not actually going out. So there's a bit of a roll of a wave of wool sort of feeding forward each week. Each week sort of, as we're looking at the graphs, the offerings are actually going to start sticking its head up above the same time where it was last year. So I think some people thinking the selection is going to drop off. Supply is going to drop as we go into the autumn when farmers get busy on tractors, but I don't think. I think it's going to be a bit more wool coming forward.
Yeah, certainly from what we've been hearing about shortages of shearers and others available, even those out in the paddock when it comes to bringing the sheep in, it sounds like there's still some chewing through just getting the wool off when they normally would be well and truly done by now.
100%, yeah. No, the length of merino wool, and I think there'll be a graph somewhere in AWTO, the wool testers records, the length of wool coming on the market is, it's a lot longer than it normally is. It's an extra 10, it's an extra 20 mil long, and seeing 130 mil wool coming forward each week in the market is not unusual. It's generally speaking, a sheep will grow 10 mil of wool a month. There's a lot of shearings happening at 13 and 14 months.
Wow. Well, hopefully we get through it all eventually and our farmers get a good price eventually when it hits the market. Andrew Partridge from Michell Wool will be there amongst many others at the coming sales. Thanks for joining us today at Flow FM.
Cheers, Ricky.